Hello and welcome to CGX Games. I'm Stuart and this is Life Games, a video that gives one of us a chance to go through some of the games from a given generation of gaming and share why they mean so much to us. This time round it's the PS4, and whether it's multiplayer shooters, classic sport titles or indie classics, these are a few that have graced my gaming timeline in the past few years.
You're almost there. Wait till you see this view, Lara. Take my hand.
Thanks.
First on the list is the third-person action-adventure game Rise of the Tomb Raider, the sequel to the 2013 release of the rebooted Lara Croft Tomb Raider franchise. You play as the main protagonist, Lara Croft herself, and have to navigate your way through a mixture of puzzle-solving, platforming and numerous enemies that stand in your way. The game is solid enough and welcomed a steady stream of good reviews that averaged an 87 out of 100 score on Metacritic. It's fair to say though that there are better games of this genre out there. Some of them will appear on this list, more about them later. Rise of the Tomb Raider, however, makes the cut because it isn't one of those titles. As much as I love this genre, and at the time of picking this up I was after something different, to play as someone different and experience a different narrative, and Rise of the Tomb Raider had just that. Being a sucker for a bow and arrow mechanic, the game also allows you to create different types of arrows, to set things on fire or to climb the next mountain. This gameplay mechanic suited my needs, and I lost many an hour working my way through the aforementioned puzzles just to find out the next part of the story. Sometimes games like this can lose your attention, and you start off with good intentions to complete all of the quests, but sometimes another gleamingly new title hits the shelves and your promise of returning to complete those last few missions falls on deaf ears. With Rise, this was not the case. I poured through this game and didn't pick anything else up until the story was done, and until I knew exactly what had happened and how it all came to pass. In many ways, the emotional tie between my gameplay history at the time and Rise of the Tomb Raider being just the right price at just the right moment created a perfect storm of gaming history that sees it sitting in my library still to this day.
Good. Cruise ship, sir. The fight card is filled in. Which of these warriors will prove their strength to the world?
Next up, we start with a controversial comment for this type of video, and that's that sometimes you need to take a rest from video games. I know, a crazy notion, but stick with me. All of you watching will know of a video game that you play when you're having a rest from other video games. Mine is Ultra Street Fighter 4. Those moments when you've been trawling through open worlds or hanging on at breakneck speed around a chaotic racetrack need to be interspersed with a moment of relaxation and calm, which for me results in taking control of an oversized character that proceeds to pummel another oversized character on the screen in front of you. Ultra Street Fighter 4 ticks all the boxes for me. It has a huge roster that I don't have to pay for or work hard to unlock. It has a simple training area that I can use to practice. It has options to set my one player to be as hard or as easy as I want, usually dependent on how hard the game I'm breaking from is. It also has online setup as well, which I never touch. Street Fighter 4 is for me. It's the video game equivalent to a guilty pleasure playlist. I play through once or twice, own a computer, feel better about myself and move on. And while it may be 3 years the junior of Street Fighter 5, it's just the fact that it's a complete package. That means it's not only resided in my PS3 library, but was a very early PS4 edition as well, and will always be there on my home screen listings. Now, I'm afraid to say that for a long time in my formative years as a gamer, I was very much blinded by AAA games and big budget releases. I realise now the wealth of games and experience that I may have missed out on, so lucky I get the chance to catch up now. In 2016, GameSwing released an indie title called Stickbolt, a unique title that was brought to my attention through another YouTube channel that I follow about all things PlayStation. Stickbolt is essentially dodgeball, with a sprinkling of 70s inspired athletes and some multiplayer mayhem that doesn't stop once you're out of the main game. With a number of different areas, you can either play single player through the campaign, or most importantly, co-op or multiplayer. If you're knocked out, then you get to control all manner of side attacks to support your team, from bees' nests to hot dog sellers that can disrupt the flow of your opponent's attack. Within the game there are a number of different areas for you to master, some standard like the sports hall where your adventures begin, ranging to sunning yourself at the beach or dodging school buses at the park. Each of these areas gives a unique slant on the side attacks I mentioned before. Nothing I can say here or show you will replace buying this game and having a go. Whether it's against friends after a long evening or family after a Sunday roast, this game will get you shouting and screaming for all the right reasons. Stickbold is a true hero of mine when it comes to the smaller independent games out there that can rock your gaming world.
The rebels have activated the uplink station. We must shut it down.
Now earlier on I mentioned guilty pleasures. The next one up on my list I unashamedly love and don't care who knows or what they say about it. It's Star Wars. In this incarnation we're looking at the reimagining of Star Wars Battlefront in 2015 by DICE Studios. Now I'm a man of a certain age and a lot of men that are a similar age to me would have grown up around the stories and the saga of Luke Skywalker and the Rebel Alliance battling the evil Darth Vader and the Empire. Now I realise I've probably already lost some of you, but like I said, that's fine. DICE had a tall order to not only make Star Wars a game that would appease fans of the saga like myself and to the many new fans that were hoping to scoop up, but also the army of third-person online shooters that was already enjoying the delights of things like Call of Duty and Battlefield, to name just a couple. Now I'm no huge online player. I don't mind it, but I prefer games that generally have more meat to their bones around the single player campaign and then couch co-ops before I jump into online play. Battlefront relied heavily on online play. The single player options were very shallow in the first iteration, but nonetheless it was Star Wars and DICE had done something that I hadn't seen in a while, that made it look like Star Wars. The detail within the game is spot on. When you have an army of nerdish Star Wars fans poring over every pixel, it needs to be as good as this was. From the detail of the environments and the characters through to the menu screens and options that you get to select for each battle, it was a perfect recreation of the universe that I already loved, and now I got to run around as not only the grunts and soldiers but also the heroes from the movies. The one thing that really gets me each time as it loads up is the ability to take control of the different ships and vehicles. You get instant access to some standard ships from across the different campaigns, and then the ability to pick up hero power-ups that allow you to take control of iconic ships from the saga for a period of time. It feels like everything I hoped it would, and that's not even including the added VR mission that was added later through DLC. Of course I bought the season pass, which actually sits you in the cockpit of the iconic X-Wing as you fly around and complete different waypoints. The game holds particular emotional weight with me as well. It was the first game that my son and I started playing properly together. Whether we battled cooperatively or went toe to toe against each other, we knocked up the hours on Battlefront pretty quickly. The only downside being the realisation that online multiplayer shooters seem to be his thing and not necessarily mine. Star Wars Battlefront is by no means a perfect game, and by the time this list is being put together, the second version is out and still has some creases that need ironing out. For this game alone, it doesn't matter. When a game sounds and looks this good and transports me to my childhood memories, just this time in reality, it's always going to be on the list. Pro Evolution Soccer 2015 is quite a specific addition to the list, but again it sits in a similar stable to Ultra Street Fighter 4. It's neat and tidy and does exactly what I need it to and doesn't pretend in my mind to be anything else. Obviously there will be some of you screaming at the screen at the moment that FIFA is the almighty and nothing else holds a candle, but for me it's always been PES. The simple notion that not all the teams have the official names and it may not have the media train behind it that FIFA does makes it all the more endearing to me. This is another of those games that I would drop into the casual shelf of my gaming library. It is there for me to dive into and play a few games after a long day, a busy schedule, or again, after playing too long on another game, a palate cleanser of the best design. 2015 in particular is on the list as for a long time it was the only version that I played, and I didn't see the point of upgrading to the newer versions every year. It did what I needed it to do and I was happy with that. The only deviation from this was when I was lucky enough to be given a copy of FIFA 17 and I was lured away for a short period of time, only to realise the error in my ways and return to Old Faithful. So whether it's dipping my toe back into a Master League or trying to convince myself I'm better at the game than my mates after an evening out, PES is still hitting the back of the net for me.
Welcome to Paradise City, the home of burnout driving.
Now let's go to the junkyard to fix you up with a set of wheels. This Hunter Cavalry is all we have for you today. It's a stunt class car. It's built for jumps and spins. It's a good all-run car, though. Perfect for a newcomer like you. Now, this car is a little beat up, so it'd be a good idea to find an auto repair shop and get it fixed before you get into any serious action. We've marked the nearest one on your map here. It's just around the corner on Angus Wharf. Okay, let's just check this thing still starts. Hold the accelerator to fire up the engine. Ready to road rage? It's a running battle with the other drivers. Take them down all over town and beat the target without totaling your car or running out of time to receive a mark on your license. Smash another driver off the road to score a takedown and pick up a boost bonus. Fill up your collection of cars, then find a junkyard like this one